Welcome back to another Coffee with Tough Souls. The last one we recorded was back in February, which basically took in the end of last year and New Year's. And so, yeah, we've got a bit of catching up to do. On the last weekend of February, we headed up to Wicklow for a long weekend to do our Mountain Skills 2 course. If you remember, back in 2021, we did our Mountain Skills 1 in North Leitrim, and this time we were heading out to do Mountain Skills 2, which is a Mountaineering Ireland accredited course about navigation and reading maps and finding your way in the mountains. So the kind of big step up between Mountain Skills 1 and 2 is that you're doing a lot more leading in Mountain Skills 2. So you're taking the group from place to place, and you also have your night nav, which is what I was the most excited for.
Cool. So we are just putting up the car before day 2 of Mountain Skills 2. So yesterday we did a bunch of navigation. It was pretty much all navigation. Map and compass and getting your bearings and figuring out where you're going and where you've come from and what your route was and etc. How to find where you would be. We did a bunch of night nav, which was actually really fun. I think through Tough Souls and stuff, Ellie and I have like a really good just ability to find ourselves on a map. And so in night nav, you don't have all the environmental stuff that is like, yes, obviously I'm here because these things are there. So I thought that was really cool, really enjoyable. So I'm not actually sure what's on today, but it's a little bit of a shorter day. Yesterday was a 10-hour hike, which is, it's not nothing, especially out in like real soft ground, which is what it was. But yeah, so excited for another day. The group that we're with it's quite a nice group. Everybody there, I guess, just seems really nice. So yeah, good times. Except for the early starts. When people are like, oh, it's an alpine start, you start real early. I'm never gonna go to the Alps. I just can't get up in the mornings. It just isn't possible. Nope.
I think we've both really enjoyed doing the Mountain Skills courses to verify what we know and to clean up the areas that we weren't 100% sure on. And yeah, hopefully we'll both go for our assessment next winter, maybe. The assessments only run during winter as they have a night navigation section to them. We did the course in Wicklow with Cormac of Fia Mountaineering, whose hat I'm actually wearing. I picked the bright yellow and I absolutely love it. I love a good hat. And Cormac was really, really great. I enjoyed his approach of doing the course 100% on the mountains. So the kind of more sit-down educational bits we did on our lunch breaks or kind of breather spots, different parts of the mountain, and just had a really good flow and kind of positive attitude. And I think we were also really, really lucky with the group that we got for that weekend. Everybody on it was like really competent and lovely and engaging, and so many good conversations. Maybe that's also just the outdoors, that it always attracts the same kind of people, and yeah, you just have a good time. And then after our Mountain Skills, it was a couple of weeks of preparation for me, because I then flew to New York. So in the Irish Arts Centre in Manhattan in New York, I'm part of a exhibition called If You Only Walk Long Enough, which is looking at the idea of travel through 3 different artists' perspective. So there's myself, there's Leanne McDonough, and there's Edie Fung, curated by Moran. I think she did a fantastic job. So I got to go over for the artist talk. We had a panel discussion talking about how we all create work and the different projects that were on display. And it was a incredibly surreal moment for me. The exhibition opened in January and is on until July. So if you are New York based and want to go and have a look, check out the Irish Arts Centre, and yeah, let me know if you go. This was my first time ever to the States, so I was slightly apprehensive on it. And after the artist talk, I had a couple of days in New York by myself, and I think my favourite moment or my favourite thing that I did was I did a long run down Broadway, going across the Brooklyn Bridge, around the very bottom of Manhattan Island, taking in the High Line, which is an old railway, like above ground line that they've converted into a pedestrian walkway. That's amazing. New York is it's a big city. And then from there I travelled up to Boston to stay with my Uncle Conleth, who very kindly hosted me for several days, and I just kind of turned up with no deep plan, just wanting to visit and bum around. And you know, not too far from Conleth is the Blue Hills Reservation or Nature Reserve, and on one of my final days there I pulled on my Roadrunners and decided I'd go follow a small section of the Skyline Trail, which was really, really beautiful. Okay, just ran about a little over 3k to this car park, and these are Blue Hills Nature Reservation in kind of South Boston, Milton area. So just gonna go for a little exploration. So I'm probably only going to do a couple of K along the trail. I just wanted to experience an American trail, and so far I can say it is absolutely gorgeous. This nature reservation is something like 7,000 acres, which is very small for the US, and at home that would be huge. Oh yeah, and so the skyline uses these little blue lines on the tree there. That's the signposting for the route, and yeah, this is the trail I'm on. And then it was time for me to fly home and back to Ireland, and I had just a couple of days rest before I was off again to do the Leave No Trace Ireland Advanced Trainer course. So this was a 5-day training course based on Achill Island this year. And it was the first year where it was 100% run by Irish trainers. So for those of you who don't know, both Cara and I are accredited Leave No Trace Ireland trainers, and I really wanted to do the advanced trainer course. It's run typically once a year, and up until now, people from the States have come over to help deliver the advanced trainer course. Leave No Trace was developed in the States, and in 1994 kind of became the organisation that it's recognised as now, and Ireland was actually the first country outside of the States to adopt the Leave No Trace ethos as its countryside code, as its own kind of entity and charity. So yeah, I was super excited. It was a 5-day course with trainers from all over the island, majority who I'd never met before, and I learned so much from each of them. The format of the course is a lot of teaching. So for this course, you're learning how to train other trainers. So for that, you have to come with your own lesson plans pre-prepared and deliver. And while you were delivering, your peers were both taking part in your lesson, but then also afterwards, each would give you feedback. And so it was a really, really interesting experience to be kind of constantly reviewing everyone else's work and then also your own work, and really developing that skill of like what is important in teaching styles or in delivery or just mannerisms and flow and managing a class. And yeah, it was intense. But I took a lot from it, and Achill is such a beautiful island. I hadn't been there in years, and I'd only been there once on like a family trip as a kid. Unfortunately, we were unlucky with the weather. We had several different weather warnings roll in across the island. It was April, which is a tricky month in Ireland. It can either be the start of the good weather or it's still very wet. And this year it was the very wet. It didn't really feel like spring had come at all yet. So we did do some delivering outdoors, and I commend the people who had to deliver in the lashing rain. And I think one of the really valuable parts of that course for me was at the end, we all had to fill out an action plan of going forward, what we were going to do with our own work, education, goals. Because just because you've done the course doesn't mean that you're now going to be training trainers every other day. It's about figuring out how you want to take that course and move forward. And I found that really valuable in my own life goals planning. So thank you to Gavin and Moira. I don't expect them to ever see this, but they were the two trainers delivering our course, delivering the advanced trainer course. And I found them incredibly engaging, and I really learned a lot from them. So a big thank you to them. And one thing I must note is that while I was off gallivanting in the States and on Achill Island, Carl was hard at work at home, and he finally got our plumbing sorted. So we can finally say that our house is finished, not to conventional standards, but finished for us, and we are incredibly happy with it. It's been a crazy 2-year project that I think we could only have done with the naivety that we had. It's one of those things where you don't know how big an undertaking you're truly taking on. And I think that's important, and that's part of it all, and that's what we do. And yeah, I am so happy and proud of us. So yeah, we have our static tent, we have our place to come back to after adventures, and clean all our gear and recharge before heading off again, which is all we could have asked or hoped for. So yeah, just really happy. Ready to put that behind us for a while. And so we'll leave the video here. On our last Coffee with Tough Souls, we got the question from Jen about shoes for doing the Camino in. As an Irish person, or as Irish people, we all tend to buy waterproof, warm hiking boots, and she was wondering if her boots would be suitable for the Camino. And unfortunately, or fortunately, I'm going to tell you no. I would rather tell you now and you didn't bring them than you bring them and they end up being discarded on the side of the trail, which Carl and I saw so many times when we walked the Camino del Norte in 2015. So yeah, you definitely want to go for the hiking shoe, trail runner style shoe. The trails there are very approachable and well defined and well developed. I would be personally probably going for a non-waterproof shoe as well, just to let extra air circulate, as long as you feel like you will get the use out of the shoe afterwards, depending on how long you're going for. If it's something that, if it's a pair of shoes you think will still be usable after your hike, yeah, I guess get what will cover the most of your adventures. And yeah, thanks so much for watching. Thank you to our amazing patrons who make this all possible. This week I will say thank you to Jane Carey and her question. I'll say thank you to Conleth Berry, my uncle who I stayed with in the US, and to Pauline Boris, and to all of you guys, to everybody. Thank you so much. You've been amazing. We both really appreciate it. And yeah, I'll see you in our next video. What we covered today only brings us halfway, so I have a few more fun adventures to tell you about, but we'll get back to that. Okay, bye.
7:05, we were at the wall. So what we do is we were downhill, we went that direction.